Hello and welcome to HooptieDoodle's Goldwing bobber build. Today we're working on two mounts, one for the ignition switch and one for the horn. Hello and welcome once again to bracket time. I need to make a bracket today to hold my ignition switch. Yeah, the ignition switch. Come along. So we've got this switch, which is the original switch that came with the bike. This is the Goldwing switch. And it no longer is going to live up here. I'd rather place it down here, right between my legs. Yeah. And so I'm gonna put it down here approximately so it sits something like that on the bike. So that means making a bracket to attach this guy to the bottom side of the frame here. So my first step is to make a little bracket that goes to these two little mounting holes here that exist on the switch. So that means cutting out some flat stock metal that will go across here, and then we'll get to shaping from there. So here's my new little bracket. It's got a couple of triangles here and here in order to give it a little bit more strength that way so it doesn't wobble and break off that way. It's also got some captive nuts welded on here and here. And then it's got two other holes on the back side here. The way this works is that this side bolts onto the frame at this point right here. So this bracket is already pre-existing on the stock bike, and it holds this guy here, which is a helmet lock. So this guy is held on by a couple screws on the back side. Those screws come off. Then this guy goes on the back side or the inside here, and the screws come through. And the screws come through those holes, both those holes, and screw into this guy. And that's what holds this bracket onto the bike. And then on the bracket, you've got the actual ignition switch. And the ignition switch comes up from the bottom onto the bracket like that. And then the two captive nuts, you just thread in a couple of bolts from the bottom. And then that attaches the ignition switch to the frame. And that's my bracket. That's the whole story of this bracket. So next thing I'd like to work on is the horn. I'd like to get a mounting spot for the horn and mount that up. Gonna make a little bracket, whatever I need to do. First I should probably test this horn and make sure it actually works. But yeah, then I'd like to mount it like up in front here somewhere. And maybe that's a good mount right there. A couple of nuts I can just screw this onto and bam, done. Well, that sounds nice and simple. All right, let's see if this horn works. I believe the battery still has a charge on it. It should enough to get this horn going at least. That makes a noise. So rating my dad's collection of saved bolts and nuts and washers and whatnot, I have come up with an assortment of things here. A few nuts, washers, and some little stubby bolts. in. Horn is done.